Ele banjo. Ele banjo. Ele banjo. Why go?
Good evening, everybody. Someone named Sakwisia the two Nasal Helebanjana Nana Mama for Major.
Jesus Christ.
Namedin Summer Coach, she echo Ebramai Ednet Midinina Ebebrel. So, in you see Abonte, as you may know, Rana is the sun is out. As if you can see me in the studio, I'm saying, me, my Betsy, and yes, I'm on a 10 years. And then we are happy, but what is interesting is that Upia Bonzina, even though they are not, you know, I wanted the Jinamupa. Mention your studio, especially if you're watching me from YouTube or maybe if you're watching me online. This Rana and Sama is here. Actually, Sama is not here. A studio because studio had the Yamia to my higher wall. Ain't so UK has say Michacha or Pa making sure so before when you announce you're tuning in. Just let them know Nana Hema is on a seat as usual and they do oh my God and more and if around the world, I kind of war around the world, and some of course, I didn't know. Now, so we're gonna dear, I'm gonna give you a special thanks and a quabas from craft for even choosing to tune in. But that's a WhatsApp radio, sir. As you know, no way a number one radio station in London. Yeah, Kagana Munsem. Najuma the Nidiani awareness, Namidian son and Nahima. 80 men for Wifidian and Kobebia. Right from this time all the way to 7 p.m. I will be in your homes, making sure that also befre and then come on menonina and a special thanks at Miami brother Penny of free a year Germany. Nasisia Wababekaya who ever you can have a oku broku Michelle Mema special shout out on Ebushafonina. But Miss Sandy and Chakasia emu ding at the Mamathas of Uganda for Nyana a year at the camp for 2000 and you come for UK Monyana HH Monyana. Na and some pena a coso a wagana. My young co, yes, breach ba breach bo and the breach ababa bedu. Some of the trending story I a coso wagana or see well we may be never know John Mahama undecided of a presidential bid. Ain't I Papa Mahama no MSM from me chogwon just on cry on decisive whether say or call akako stand as presidential candidate or not. And the emunsem e be 14 na ebebro. If you no ma ye call o my pampani hoyi na just say ye call e wo e so mountain one na ye kwa or say wale witness improvement in development project. Now that project to cry and e koso e wo wale and ye the emunsem ye na ebebro. Now if you also as a government will fulfill obligation to pensioners, a year bondholders, a finance minister, and a desire and say me by someone you know money chayakra and pennyful be almost sika akakoto Bank of Ghana, a whom some dear sekuha. Now, when a year pensioners association, I saw this video which was very touching. A bit more they decided say almost sika ekwakoto hono na senior hun kakra no the atoto nro pension sika any all their savings now is all locked up. Na sisia a finance minister wa babontin abeka asemi does he actually mean it? And I said then and na abujufo di munsem bebro. See Banco Christan Atsu social media banter with Mubarak Wakaso. Now, if you also the Nigerian comedian Craze Clown revealed Christan Atsu's paid his fees. Now, your crack crown as a Christan Atsu lifeless body found Ain't making sure so we and in some February and then net yet the emon some yana ebebro. But just to let you know, no, as usual, me you were feeding on Cobabia and then now pick a 4 bet your monka and net obaya were fun in himself for a very long time. Obaya young hoon with ya. Dear didn't see no and ye babies and one some now or didn't you know about beto a dra ama yet yana. Yes, Sammy ama the cooling down hearts man and net obeti or non so enka e wo fie ha say. Ain't making sure say so what you need in a menu we feeding no enko ba bia ban sana me sha say no mema obaya ya achia na bedwafo and pennyfo because ye hu no ache ye pa na de e de nikosie all this time no obaya ya ebema ye mu hunu mu ye nyina nim say obaya for a very long time na okase or ye say exams be says wakofa course bi ato no ye mi sa ne say bia cause no na de next year sense so dia you no nchechire mu na ye nyina ye enti enti obaya good evening.
It
feels
like we better not show this watch anyway. So hello to everyone. It's been a long time anyway. So it's nice to be back. Well, kind of back anyway. We will see how that one pans out. But I'm happy to be back to my seat. Yeah, then my course in Marie eventually at the end, you know, yeah, I mean the pay anyway. And so that more Williams so that me Mom, when you're aware, so that may expect a baby, and the baby has arrived safely. So now, no, I'm ready to come back to the program. So welcome, welcome. Nice to be back, and yes, I'm happy to be here today.
And yeah, it's here for those of you say come yet in a cocoa no Emsa Obaya Kashara says she was having a baby. It's a congratulations. Now
thank you very much.
Dear Nanyame Ede Emma
Obama.
And then because this year remember and why you've contributed to society because this year a man or yes a man crab ne ho man no bema ba ko ne ho ma be set 3 and answer 4
dem di biaba
and it's for unim so person register obaya ya the banner for oba and answer for yourself this is the time. Obey. Now it's been a long time.
Yes, it has been.
How's your week been all this time? And I know, say, with Ghana, and away from radio, no, how is being a new mother like?
Oh boy, it's exciting. It's fun. Well, it is fun. It's sleepless nights, kakra woman, but it's exciting to be doing this, to be blessed with a new baby. So yes. And also, yeah, I try to sort of obviously get back to shape. And so, like now, I'm moving, you know, I try and sort of like try and go to the gym and do other things as well, just to keep me occupied while I'm on maternity leave as well. And obviously, I listen to the program as well, and then that keeps me going. So yes, it's been so far so good. Yeah.
Yeah, Japan because owned by your fans, Ibisawa say all the time.
Sir?
So it's good to be back. Na and we a boy na MZ studio happy first minutes and now we see just before I started na make a chat for say and we are no abo United Kingdom. So what has say we are not bo into na hemi me my Betty but we are not so I want you na Ghana the meeting is a Ghana so or show no any easy
wow yeah
it's very interesting say baby na baby and so right it's a young fat and so one of the story that's been very trendy at the moment a earthquake here is Ukraine said so far no and the last time I checked is over 41,000 people and if you look at it now a earthquake no lasted not even more than
less than a minute. 45 seconds, yeah.
Less than a minute. And if you share Sebi, the way a chrono SCIA, see over 7,000 buildings, and yes, buildings, say Bigana, family back these high scrapers, 700 of them, 41,000 people, ewu, and what does it make you say, bedring, senipa, ubi honoma, and a jokrani see one can be shame, and not assassin me at all. Who knew to know? How did they make you feel?
It's very some way it's just difficult anyway. No one else near home. Taking pony come once, which we say Syria quite worse than Turkey because Syria and intimate reporting as much as and due to the issues they've had in the past. It's a very, very sad TV so now uncle for I can't even imagine, especially being a mother now anywhere at the moment myself, just seeing so like can you imagine so I would know back na for na see it happen now no better near operation we would no na the see any people be a wood like it's just sad moment and you can't even imagine how families have people are feeling. You can actually sympathize with them, but to be on the ground or to be affected directly by what has actually happened, it just as maybe said minimum there, minimum how our people are surviving or coping with the whole situation. It just yeah can't want them every day as we talk about it in the BA you need power for or we need power one anyway, and it's a very sad, very, very sad moment to really witness how many people have died. And it's still, I mean, last time I checked, it's 35. It said the best 40 something or
41,000.
41,000. And it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not, and it's so sad. It's sad. But it just also kind of, in my mind as well, and it just kind of makes you start also thinking about the safetiness of the buildings, and because I was listening to the news the other day when they were talking about the safetiness of the building as well. So like albino before they showed the building, an engineering building, some engineer and architect office via and the fact that dino survived, it was not touched, but a dino around it near that was built that was properly regulated, and I said we had the right equipment and as a right properties in it, linear collapse around this building, which it goes to tell you, say, you know, they were talking about the fact that the government, Turkey government, needed to do more to safeguard the buildings of Turkey, which they've not done. And I think the government have a lot to answer for. And I think so like to just not make sure the buildings were regulated the right way for the buildings to be right, and to see how much people have perished in one country. I think that it's going to affect the government. The government will have a lot on their hands anyway, because the reason why I'm saying that, and they say I brought that up, and they say it looks like it might be a man-made. Some of the, I know it's a disaster and they happen everything, a man-made a natural disaster, but but it looks like the way the buildings have collapsed and how people have died, or how the buildings have collapsed and they could have been prevented. So man-made thought is involved in it. And looking, I think when I was into the news, looking at how a building that was sort of like built with different properties, and I said, was regulated properly to be built, and in it kind of, obviously the earthquake happened, but nothing happened to the building. And then the rest of the buildings that people, right way, have collapsed, Obviously, there's a lot that has happened that a lot of people will have to account for what has happened. It's a very sad situation that has actually happened, and when you can't even imagine, and you can only sort of like pray, say like this will never happen again, and not happen again. But I hope and pray say this will be a lesson, and then it won't happen again anyway.
One other thing, we said Ghana for and all around the world, yet to know a place, Ghana to the extent that Iceland, Krampono, Ghana for and Yen semi by Ghana for be one of the interviews are now made, and almost baby Turkey, baby we see, and is a place senior school, and I say Juma. Hardly pa one Juma in school, and I say be pa and your baby before it's kind of an affluent area crowd. But kind of what we find ourselves everywhere. And one prominent person Adie Etono is Christian Atsu. As you all know, said all this time, you shall know buy you see a huno. Some reason Yahuno, I think of when Jane twin, Chupi came out in an interview at Dagana Fuasi for the support and everything. And just yesterday, Fufi and Tuata, and the sad thing, Kwan said there was the image beer, not a call round, which is kind of sad because Sebi, Obim Pesesebi, Ukwa. You do when him ba abontain for the whole world to know. No, he's an international kind of person, and because of the football, no. Now, would say a true seminal, and now before say Rebecca, no, a true AOB, he's a philanthropist. Why a lot of charity. I'm Kofo Bebre, Kofo only both Ghanaians, Omunye. This Nigerian comedian who's and school fees no about we here to Owe University, and one of his passion is to look after prisoners, or support a lot of prisoners. And there's this one journalist, not so bad up saying maybe not a crime check almost no, but up said not and Christian reached out to this guy, you know, so what is any say, quite not to me. And according to him, the chat and by this guy sent him about $3,500 on J, and he was shocked. And through that, you know, this guy helped. Unfortunately, Eka baby, and this a true help even throughout the funeral till we into what touched a lot of people's hearts. Would say a true how did it make you feel about it?
Thank you very much, Nana. And Dra me Fiana will be the image in the chair me first anyway. It was very disturbing, to be honest with you. I wish I never really saw that image. I really wish I opted not to look at it because for a man of his color, but it will be a way. To be honest with you, you'll be called. You know, there's some people who will feel the pain of the person passing, but to see somebody of that kind of caliber, yeah, I don't know if that's the right word to use. Yeah, of that kind of. Also, there's a saying said I think that's what I'm trying to drive at anyway. So like to see the person lying down, you think that there was so much this person had to give, and his life has been cut short just like that, you know. It was very, very sad. Now, see where would that I said, you know what I mean? It just doesn't. It was very sad. But I said to someone yesterday when I was looking at it, I said, it looked like I wish like I never saw it, and I wish they said like they didn't have to circulate it because an image in your own image anyway. It could be someone's image anyways, but it just doesn't look good for the family, what they're going through, the wife, the children, to see that image, you know. It's not right, because if you remember, Nana, it was this guy basketball player now, the body she, and for example, you know, people go into trouble for doing that, taking pictures of it and just circulating it, because obviously you have to think about the family to see this image, if it's the right image of that person, to see that image being circulated with that sort of, you know, with that person just showing for everyone to see, you know. It was just too sad just to look at the AC anyway. It's very, you know, and I even found, I said, like the way he ended up, he wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be in England with his family, but apparently they say almost share goal or say yeah, someone the team to share, and then he wanted to stay for a day because he was supposed to fly that day before.
From
that day.
What I heard, I don't know which of the stories are not true. Apparently he was coming to England and his flight was cancelled, and he decided obviously to spend the night.
Something like that. And I probably got there to the flight by 20-30 minutes, and the whole thing happened. And it looks like you will time us one. So there's a saying like that. So time us one. It just to watch how God knows what the pain that he went through. He tried to probably escape it or try to get out from the rebels and really be stuck in there with the cement and to say, goodness, so it just it's very sad, but the family now you feel for, you know what I mean? You know, and then
May has passed.
oh, the mommy passed, okay. So the family now you feel for, and they also my boys too, and a wife,
the
you know,
wife,
and
the
it's just
twin,
the
and
twin.
then the brothers.
Yeah, and I've watched a few interviews about him and things that he's done. As you said, you mentioned like he support prisoners, and there was this once that he actually gets some football boots and he kind of give it to the poor in Ghana, and was trying to do a lot of charitable work and actually kind of support a lot of people in Ghana, probably around developing countries, trying to help people's careers. And then there was a story I was actually watching the other day. He talked about his story about before he came from a very poor family, and when he was traveling, there was a time he called for training, and he was going home, and obi papa bi in the Efano, the wife was like, "Men, we are for wherever it is," and you know, you can see me whom when you say, you know. And I see earthquake didn't happen when I'm in the deal crowd anyway, but the small bit I've come to, you know, see him in the social media, people have portrayed and talked about him for, you know, you just feel so like this guy could have had a lot to give, and it's unfortunate say the life has been cut short this early in his career or life. Yeah,
it's sad. Abaya, my NCA attentive because I send with the rem. Yama, I was your phone yako, especially Christian Atsu, a yet ne nata especially because on in the free from mobile bar the same day. Any of us any kind of for yeah, mom yako. Yo, it's here for a year, bed dage and a year day. You could see a day a kai ya bema a year Christian Atsu Baby or Dabiano, and I say baby or Onyame on fat ne cra, ain't see ye, not on fancy, and my na yen nam, here was a Jumako, and ne kind of why war UK, yina dinisio a bomb, a day, Yako Kessie, a dema, nere, and in a ma, any edition for a more Ghana. Obaya into and common so. Ain't see back to sa this kind of earthquake and you said you call Ghana a place like Central Hill. It's one of the things you mentioned, which is very, very interesting, is the fact that the structural engineers, they didn't do the compliance bit that contributed to the kind of extension and as casualties. You say and you can't stop natural disasters, but sometimes the dynamic work come a bit to be abwa. You fought any and sure Ghana because you said Central Hill a year earthquake zone. So Kaya in chair. Your boy cheap so Malcolm, do you remember Malcolm collapsing and dining collapsing and send a nipa wuye and some of the graphics do you think say Yamen Pengu man not does no munaso sadie we you could see what Ghana could we have stand in terms of compliance of the kind of buildings that you Ghana?
Oh boy, thank you, Nana. I'm unfortunately, I think it would have been even worse than what we've actually witnessed in Turkey and probably in Syria. And I says that because I know, say like, or no, well, no, I allegedly say like, I mean, from what I've witnessed when I've been in Ghana or how things are run in Ghana, no, Obia, that's what they want to do anyway. I mean, I start to be corrected anyway, but it's my view anyway. When it comes to building anyway, I know there's a lot of buildings that people live in and I say they are built and they do want to, it doesn't comply in terms of the structural sort of like, the strength and everything is not the right built. So for example, as you said, Malcolm didn't happen, obviously it was one incident that was so bad. So you can tell, obviously it was a man-made disaster because obviously people in the building construction wasn't obviously done right, and then therefore it killed so many people. Like innocent people are like they lost, be losing the mommy, be losing the papa, be losing the meal, be losing like, and the graphics that came out, obviously that is not even going to be discussed today. So and then looking at McCarthy Hill, those places, and they are really prone to disasters like this anywhere. I'm hoping so that this what's happened in Turkey and in Syria in terms of this earthquake. I think we all know, we all have heard of natural disasters, and we all know earthquakes happen in some countries. For me, it was really kind of I didn't know Turkey was one country that had it in the past. Yeah, it has most of the time. I think if I remember, in recent years has happened. Obviously, we know countries like America, in Japan and those places in there that are happening with, but you can see, so obviously because their structural buildings are kind of in the safe or they've done in the right way, it doesn't, the disaster that comes out from it, I mean, obviously, yeah, they have been casualties, but it has not been this to this capacity. So I'm hoping that this thing now, what was actually happening in Turkey, and in Syria, will be a big lesson for us in Ghana and also be a scene because as you and I know, when you see with Diana, you see with Diana to what standard do you want to do it anyway. Whether cement going to see not block anymore. One can say like, but say, I'm sure there's regulation, so there's some people that have to check those things. As to whether they get checked, I doubt it. So I'm hoping it's the same. So be seen Diana. You make sure that you see Ube seen it in a way that will be, a compliance, like just fulfill what it needs to. And I say it's got the strength and the capability. So be say especially in those earthquake zones, like they are done in such a way so that it doesn't cause any sort of like this kind of disasters anyway. But it happened in Ghana. To answer your question, it will be worse than what this has happened here anyway, because we all know, so like it doesn't get regulated properly, and everyone does whatever they want to do. and therefore would probably kind of be worse anyway. But I'm hoping that this will give, our government something to think about and just start looking into how we can keep the country safe, and in terms of making sure, say, we put the right things or measures in place. So when someone is building that, they are building to make sure that, like, the place that they're building, like the materials and things that they've used to build in that place, meets the criteria for what the business standards have to be. And I hope we all learn from this what's happened.
Obaya, that was it. It's very interesting. It's here for Sawut here, and as if you just tune it, just to remind your time check. At the moment is 39 minutes past 5. So far disaster Kosovo, Syria, and the Turkey, and obviously Ghana for you to quine pa me pay bibi and me pay den and ama Ghana for who akwakochire ni true, and they say dimba kwa sisi da obiano yai nuabema Christian Atsu or yet footballer wabo bi ama Chelsea Abobi and my teams that were England just quite recently, and I'll call take it, join a new club. Unfortunately, I to range him say Abefa and no call ama a year or woban or dinner pakai ababefano. Yeah, Edina free at for assassins. I would like to know your thoughts. Otse story is and how did it make you feel? A year in Christian as same any disaster, Nankasaya earthquake no. Time and what did it make you feel? So what sorry I know pa what juma wa beda with them na unyo bia bone ebi ufa obi anwa adwene nkosi with you not within a twinkle of an eye in the midst of sawada. Less than 1 minute, your whole life has changed. Your whole life has collapsed. Mami nya unso wadwen che number ni 0208 144 8773 0208 144 8773. Na minso minya also feedback what you think say is the right thing to do no. Mami ente wonka na fa wo adwene ebra. Mami kai a little bit of insight. I say Christian Atsu Turkey's agent Murat says his lifeless body was found under the rebels this morning following the devastating earthquake in Turkey. Na okay story no it was so equa. Also the Black Star and former Chelsea and Newcastle United forward Christian Atsu was found dead on Saturday after he went missing for days after the earthquake in Turkey. A year Chelsea leader Atsu, who played for Hataypur before his tragic death, was one of the star players from Chelsea Academy before heading towards Turkey. A 31-year-old residing in an apartment in the Hatay city, which suffered huge damage during the earthquake. Christian Atsu's manager Nana Sechere, who had traveled to Turkey and was providing fellows ups during the weeks, confirming the tweet. It is with the heaviest of heart that I have to announce all well wishes that sadly Christian Atsu's body was recovered this morning. My deepest condolences to his family and loved ones. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for their prayers and support. I ask that whilst he makes the necessary arrangement, that everyone will please respect the privacy of the family during these difficult times. My dear Bakuma Okai is to respect the privacy. Ghana Sabo no do you think say dear Bia Yetiasiana, but before say Wobekosono say a year Bismarck Abba Ahumani so my main pick a Bismarck quickly. Na meet Bismarck, the Bismarck Edinburgh. Hello. Bismarck, what's your make? Yeah, Bismarck, what's your make? You, my name called
Nana, free amama so me che bibia na anime nana oba Ghana we maka say anime de dodo na ehwe ni eh Christan Atsu numu na mu a ehu na yedi bebe be free Turkey ababedu Ghana ha no ero na nkofo ehwe ni mu because time a yesa e kan say emu be free Turkey ababedu Ghana ha no Ghana time no 7:30 ana yenya ntia se Christan Atsu emu no ebe free Turkey abedu Ghana ha no dodo na ehwe ni mu because eno na hema yenya ene titi wo mu ase eni bi bon komo people are saying say very so sad say BBC ato Christan Atsu emum ato Ghana as a whole ni nyina because enye family no kwa na enya na emum no Ghana nyina na enya if you say no abo Ghana ta ama omode akọ manim kakra eni ntino say BBC a happen na enye Christan Atsu ebusuafo na enya na emum no Ghana nyina ana enya eni ntino oba Ghana ha titu Kumasi a people are so sad and uncomfortable na issue and I will share say Christan Atsu nyese bia bon kwa na oba Ghana ha na or foundation and then number 2 or say you be or ya do yi pa ma prisoners to prisoners for na oba Kumasi prison call in someone prisoner ya dey na Christan Atsu yi nkofo free afiase we so obi ho no na hima nipa ko obi ho no ma wakọ wi ade ne mo ne court no fine and ya fine say bia wontua 1000 Ghana cedis wontua bia 20,000 and as bia 1,005 Ghana cedis which is 50 million and as wontua 10 million as which is 1,000 and as wontua 2,000 which is 20 million no some of phone bo no o mo yesika ntua ntama o makoda afiase something na ya de na Christan Atsu edisika ba na yi some of phone nyina afiase based on waste here now it's my bow now I sign one lady should be a being Kumasi on what can I say when you are calling Christan Atsu Kumasi prisons now I better name my bit confirmation what is say Christan Atsu foundation and so bomba by adoye Kumasi prisons what will be Christan Atsu now Atsu Busan said now I didn't know that's what her now only school or so they had in say the hospital no so baha no so baha yamwa one Christan Atsu eboa na man ko yi ni maame na ebiem so no nisika na Christan Atsu eboa na ehwe ni school from level 100 to level 300 na many view school was na every month bia na Atsu edisika bre no e man training fees e man bi edidi nti what say we asi no na ya dia na ha ne ye pa bi say o maka san no wonya moa afri chen na hima busa ya so far dey cost of Ghana ha nyina na emu a ye hwe afri Turkey eba bedu o man Ghana mu ha no ana ye hwe na people also saying say senkaban ka ban no enye ne state barrier na nka ban no mum enje efu no na busafo ntenase na nka o muntimi hwe na nka o man no mum ensie Christan Atsu dan say ebi jan ma busafo no ma wakosi no eba sa de a ebeto sinin bi say obo Ghana blaster that dia say o man no mum enje efu no na o mum na state barrier say be ya e de enumunyam hye bebre Christan Atsu busua Ghana has seven trust with ya.
Yeah, manenko ain't sabre no a year Kumasi apart from prisons na or ye what to mene abusuafo ni bi at your monka na edie na abusua no so kana nhye bi ewo akwan mu ana
na ma abet maka say ye wo Kumasi no on Christan Atsu ohwe ne background na free whole side na tifa ne mother ankasa wo no pankasa na entiase na onwan bebe na so e wo monchen wo London ho bi wo London e bi wa ajoto do atete mienu ene wa monone na wo be Kumasi ha on shade ni abuso Kumasi ha na emom ne nyina san se Atsu no yan se ye voter decide ntino we say ho do na bi for ebe wo ba Ghana Kumasi dey a because I don't know ye prisons no and do na edi hu no more any ball or Emma Ghana no, and no, do not so as a who can see you pa. Into Bakumasi there, people are saying, says Sanka, if you Kumasi there, and answer was Santina, if you Kumasi there, Comuna, I don't call Sophie, no Kumako Jamano, Kefe, this answer a phone moment, it's a baby doom kind dear, let me do Kumasi dear. Omina di omospect na so omunya do ma teacher ma ebusuafono na oma asomu kosekose seja yakọ we de omo papa omo no anisuo na nya no eta omachi na so do na so na esrem paibo e de ma omo free kumase ha e de ma ebusuafo
yo ye better say and intremo a odi amai enti putua se development we are ba say
answer na me call me for 2 stories we over the Friday this Saturday weekend year mu no ana level 200 or K University na him team FP in 4 floor abehwe from awu ni nyina say nemo wanu e campus e tech inside nemo ni poster e outside the campus no ana student here level 200 weekend year mu no we free abonsan so abehwe from awu na bi mu so when we say that they feature more betting stories, but my main fan mamo fast breaking news. Security service.
Nyabotre sa level 200 nipa na akola na wa beti ahwe kuno no o tro bi to ho say bibi hano ana say bi on to win school fees ana say sisia na say am say nche bi na Valentine ba e bi cramp na Valentine want to me what can be to horse na and I say bibisa e wo ba
ya kudu ho no wa anka bibisa wa anfa letter bi anto ho but omanka so omusa da nim ade pote a e ma branch ne ejare ho free 4 floor e de be hwe form abra wo no hostel wa anto bibi anto ho no wo so wanya hwe na e kudu na say ade omudi amu no ko but e say nka ni hostel manager no and as a penny in the bomb come he wasn't saying say on kasa because okasa one here the hostel no kra no ebitimi akọ down and I say ebitimi the car brand nti was on media and that's one mon come nti no yes ajaja when we say yetima akọ for you no say bomb the domusko the domusko na say ade a brante no omusi bi o hon ma say etimi jejina ekwana na window no kakaka aso mo ya mo say twe ho twe ho say still na say ade na students in the friends in the car on fee until say weekend year mu no bibisa happen ewo hostel ewo outside K University campus neti ama abante no eja no ho abehwe from abroad level 200 students
yo ene but body am ni said the next story na but na ye ndwadua mu ebi abehwe krampo no na chese apapa wa bi krampo na we're breaking hearts because broken hearts and so they in some be to me, but I'm not saying say you're not there.
They can we and they out because sana ye media for copy on no sana ye drain say all the students in the idea to take no that happen about obviously other say be any peace no could be say or their business we are now be kutwa my bet be and be amana who says they are to the atu so jare wona so ofi atafaka you know must work if you Monday a chine kono you need that so be akiri you hwe nsem a see the finance police for the baba bonten na you 200 amount so e do aka hono na me move on to the last story na ma mo beti na be fi chine ko na baba ma has a breaking news from Kumasi security service omuye adwuma ewo government mu nipa mako 13 yetimi achi wo mu nyina ne se okọ bosomefren wo a asiwa o se hono ye baabi a omuye galamsey ewo ho na security service o ma dress bako as a journalist anu mama na kan bobo no ho ana bako so free office of the president e ka ho dia kan nyina ye military any immigration service o mu ba mako 13 na omo ekoyi operation ewo obosomefre we ye asiwa na omo jin ko physical mining saa no mo be pie konongo ana obi e ma atip say ene ekoso asiwa na mo nkofo ndo mani akire konongo a omo ba konongo ko mo
jena ho enti saa nkofo no omo nye security men ana say omo security men no mo afre omo pem ene yesa
na ma omo security men na mum on say omo ye national service security say omo ye okanda pankofo as a national security na ho mo which is no and as a weekend year mu no so lucky na kanda pa so e wo Kumasi e wo Ashanti region so police officer na say commander na fake kanda pa say ya che mo members ni bi e wo ha say o mo ejejeje nkofo sika o mining o ma jijiji abepie kono na hima na we sika o ma jini de almost millions of cedis and o ma jiji e mining we kono na bra na hima kanda pa bepie mo no say da bi minimum omunya members omunya nkofo na two mensa ahasane nkofo bi ase omunko mining site enko jijiji omunkofo so ofi na national security ana ya fede say omra awo finkan say omra me operation we according to Kanda Power so on small bi national security say omra mining site eye bosome fe wona say asiwa ene konongo say omra jiji sika free mining for no ho no fam no mu nti no omo fa member no gogo nkogum na ma so for America say member no abepiem omo ma begu Kumasi 4 billion soldiers for no akate omo di member abugu na pa no na ombe ati say ombe meet the press omo share media for na face soldier for de wo bia no omo di ato yanim efa eni mako 13 na ya chi omo say omo free national security.
Yo, Bismarck, ready, yeah, better was say anyway, Juma so wo ye pomodia na for was to form say ayefofro bia ba na wote abeboy nti ye better was ba
no na so das pa na me se obia
yes we chia pa fi chia panzem sa fi ye sheda en kasa ye papa nti ye ma
ko de me kasa ni mo wa kasa me no na en kasa but me no kasa bi fi na shoot na e be bon komo
that's it padaroma yo yeah that's it yo esie for ye so for Bismarck and na yatin nkan ono Angel FM and na owa oye ne juma and na wetwa mfonyi a ekoso ewo Ghana Ghana for how they receive the news about Turkey, especially with Christan Atsu being involved and the dear ekoso national phobia or security men or my almost national security or money nam etiwa area and then our mining site sika na KNUST a branch here our level 200 which are home from a hostel on the 4th floor amma volunteer you try my entire na wagene nkwa efini nsam ya sabre say so wo share on Facebook we be hu say yes amiama aba join you ofia numbers no ye be ato like I said we be to me afraying. I would like to know your thoughts a question. How did you hear the message earthquake and all attack in Syria? How would you feel so was sorry no sorry akojuma baba na obe sorry no na o life in your answer number again is 0208 144 8773 0208 144 8773 ube to me edo message and answer comment so about Facebook on ebe kind in our mouth to be sharing live on YouTube what's that TV and also the message in about ebe kind in our area so me ama yeah na pa na before so but not obaya ya na floor right mama call obaya so na say before say yeah Bismarck a message and answer report brain na me bisa say ube sorry anoba wa kwejuma wapa one wa busafo adofo na obeta na obe sorry when you be bone so you be a bone crazy crying na boom one can be shame now your whole life has changed then I'll be
oh sorry in Bukra no cry as because what's happening with Bukra I'm sorry because the things could die then the earthquake happened and you never woke up anyway then obviously it will like you don't know it's just it's a very sad situation anyway. I think as you said what can you do I tell you and I'm say now then happen or it was natural disaster there's nothing you can do but there was definitely a man-made issue that wasn't addressed properly. And I think so once this has the whole earthquake, they've recovered the dead and the anyone that's still alive or whatever, and that's when all this information, everybody out. And also, like who lose now you don't have anything. Where do you start your life? They say, and obviously we're going to have a lot of issues with human trafficking. Maybe children ends up in the wrong place, and and things happens anyway. So yeah, Bonfire is like we are praying for anyone that has been affected. Maybe so we pray. So like they say, obviously some of them are going to be homeless. They're going to lose everything, and charities are going to be involved to help support people, and also obviously children more arcade. Yeah, bonfires will be wrong person. They won't end up in the wrong person's hand, and they will go into the right places to be helped and supported anyway. Because at the moment, duly, when these things happens, and that's when almost sorry, bad people sorry, then they take advantage of the vulnerables. So yeah, bonfires at BBA better thing.
You better what's your buyer. My main customer is so I'm sure you were listening as you were coming.
Yes.
Now we see a program now. I'm saying now you can't you spend a lot of time discussing about the earthquake and what Syria and it's Syria and Turkey. And to be more specific here, Ghana for it to come because Ghana for they are everywhere. I'm yet to find out maybe Ghana me any. And obviously that you me see it shows a Ghana me. But one particular person was standing out Christan Atsu and because of the kind of person he is, what he's done for humanity and unity and within actually. Now, Asamba Kwa, I would like to know your thoughts on that. We've had a discussion, but Christian, thereby, I had one documentary, Obi blame Ghana government, the Ghana government, or blame the national security, the ambassador, Ghana ambassador, or Turkey, and said purely because almost say even though he's an individual, na even other countries the na as a Ghana in say nipa say yanya ho hwe na abrantie share rebel nasia for over 9 days or 14 days na Ghana for na pen one day minimum so kasa free ya do you think say you bet me the subo no abo Ghana pen for na
that's I think so the condolences not much to anyone that was definitely been affected by the tragedy it will take. It's a sad when you look at how devastating the damage has been. The death toll in itself is shocking. When it started, I remember the first time the news broke, and I would have 200 and some people has died, and you thought, okay, so this is about nah, and then within the following day, the numbers just keep rising and just keep rising and until I think the third day, then you see how devastating the thing has been and how widespread the earthquake actually has caused. So it's a massive problem. How many so far I said that there
41,000 at the moment.
41,000.
It's gone up so quickly.
That and counting probably. And you asked me the specific question about whether the Ghana government could have done anything, better
to save our brother.
To save, I don't understand how
because that's what one of the documentary. I think the people when things like the out of the
40-something people.
No,
died.
for our brother.
Yeah, but 40-something people
Yes.
died.
Yeah, exactly.
40-something people died. So it's a tragedy. You can't. And the thing is, also, it's not like Kusoria now we call it is very organized in terms of the rescue team. We are volunteer for now. there's a reporting area you have to go, and then
Some
it's
kind of
you have to
vetting that you go
coordinate it,
through, yeah.
in a way. So Ronaldo could not have done anything, that, the Turkish government would have. I mean, if he says maybe putting pressure on maybe the authorities in Turkey to specifically, look for your citizen, maybe they might be able to do it. But we all don't know what has been happening, in the background. So I mean, this is not something that you can blame any government. But if you want to move a blame now in terms of looking at the governmental part, I think the part that I felt, and I think you rightly mentioned from your submission, is that the investigation has to continue just after everything has settled down. But the housing that actually all got collapsed, there has to be a question that will be asked as to how did it actually crumble in that manner.
Like pancake.
Yeah, and is it an issue of the building itself
Regulation,
not
yeah.
meeting the standard that I expected, or is it an issue? Say, is a quake which we know if you go to countries where they are prone to earthquakes now, there is a specific criteria in terms of how buildings should be, and even the material that I use for buildings are specifically designed a way where when it gets that bad now. I remember there was a documentary I watched, I think it was in Japanese, that they built their it's more like very much wood in nature. I mean it would still break, but it wouldn't cause much damage and they have shock absorbers, most of the buildings that takes on the shock. So a lot of questions definitely will be asked. And we all hope answers coming. But then I say it's a tragic, event that if you listen to the story, he wasn't meant to be there. He was actually meant to be in France. He delayed his travel to France. And,
Is it not England?
It's England.
France, he had another team that I think they bought him in France. He
Oh,
was
okay,
meant to
okay.
be.
Oh
And,
boy, it's so sad.
yeah, it's so sad. He wanted to play the last game for his team,
Yeah.
played it and scored a winner.
Winning goal.
And then I mean, it can happen to any of us. As we sit here right now, something terrible happened. Some stupid driver might just blow his car into this building and we are all gone. These are some of the things that I mean. I'm not comparing accidents to the earthquake. Earthquake we know is very natural in nature, but the point in this how prepared was the Turkish government. But Turkey is not. It's an earthquake prone area, not everywhere in Turkey. So I think those are the political questions that will be asked. And even when it happened now, what was the government's reaction? The emergency services and how quickly they react. Should have been saved, and the 40,000 or so people that died, could they have been saved? Maybe if there was a very quick intervention from the rescues, and they did ask for international help. The whole thing, no country will be prepared for what happened. I doubt it, unless you have a structures that yes, the earthquake can bring your buildings down, but it might not be as devastating as has been in Turkey. So then I wouldn't think. I mean, people would just want to sometimes go for it. I don't know whether it's politics, score political points or issues, but you can't blame anyone for what has happened. But perhaps where he was, which I don't know, accessibility to the place might probably very very difficult. And who are you saving? Maybe on only name and before you get to him, there are other multiple lives that need to be saved as well. Are you going to work on people and just go and save one other person? So we all don't know. We all don't know. I mean, we just have to take it as it is. Unfortunately, the family we've been. I saw the kids and their mom on the Newcastle.
Yeah.
When they played their respect to him. It's a really sad. I don't know the guy personally, but I mean, reading from some of the things that people have said about, he seems to be, genuinely nice person. Even if he's not a nice person, you don't want anyone to die in under such circumstances. So it's really it's very touching. It's heartbreaking. It breaks your heart to hear such a young soul like that, leaving children as young as his kids are. That's real good.
Enti sɛnea mo nyinaa yɛnim ɛyɛ yɛnnua Christan Atsu nyame ɛfa ne kra ɛnsie, and especially the family ɛyɛ ne yere ɛne ne ma 2 boys ɛne n'abusuafoɔ a ɔmo UK and ɔmo Ghana ɛne baabi biara. This situation here, like somebody said, you don't even wish for your worst enemy, let alone somebody who is a philanthropist, somebody who has a heart of humanity. Inti what's up? Abusuakuo yɛne yɛnuanom a ɛwɔ UK ha ɛne abusuafoɔ nyinaa ɛka abom na yɛama abusuafoɔ nyinaa hyɛ den. Moving on, our next story. Don't pay money to anyone for school placement. Free SHS department coordinator to parents. The deputy coordinator for free higher school education, Nanasika Mensah, has dispelled the notion that prospective SHS students were placed randomly in schools of their choice, thereby denying other access to their school for choice. This came on the back of the complaints by some parents that their wards, despite having better aggregates than others, were not placed in any other schools of their choice and left hanging while the placement system favored. Speaking to Class News, Jessica Ekua Ampin, and Friday the 17th, and the deputy coordinator of the free SHS explained that we deal with system, and when we run out of system, we place you based on your merit. And the auto system is based on merit. So when it's given to you, that's what we do. But when it doesn't happen like that, that's where we do it ourselves, or self-placement. You go and you do self-placement, so you choose a school for yourself. We give out names of schools depending on the spaces available for days. If we have space in the school, we give it out and the choice, and it goes on and on and on. And the story didn't see this story up, there's this story is trending on social media about a girl here. Osi onya aggregate 34. Now onya aggregate 34 no. When you school ni mo bia, but obi enya aggregate 39. Nipa nenya ni second choice. And there was this other parent who was lamenting seriously, say ono so benya 34 when you school. Na obi odi nechi a onya even a higher grade, as in higher number no.
Yeah.
Enya school. Sammy, mommy first saw a story and first start also since you were a teacher.
Oh,
You were, since you are still a teacher.
So obi enya 34, and if we look at this story, almost say almost depending on the system. No say no ankasa be and we are based on the school be space then they look at your merit and they give you a school. Is there he said obi between your good grade? Let's say when you're 9 ones and I say when you're 6 and I said 10. I ought to mean your school and with this kind of system.
well, if it's a matter of Nipano first choice where there's huge competition, yes, it's very possible.
So on your school cry first and second
I
and
doubt
third.
it's on your school cry, for grades like that, say on your school cry idea. I'll be very surprised on your school. Maybe any first choice not might be, highly competitive. Competitive not only because the grades that are growing are as good as his or hers, but it could be also, as we all know, there's vibrant corruption in the system. Despite the fact that the system actually picks the grades, we know, and it is not a secret. People do have links, and then they still manage to get places where their grades actually are not up to what the requirements are for that specific school. So that situation in there is there. But I think if for a couple of years back and compared it to now, and I could be totally wrong on this one. I think the system that they created, has helped a bit to include. It's more inclusive now, where if you do well, you will be able to get a so those have the manual aspect that people still manipulate and make changes. Because I had a conversation with someone about this specific issue, and what I've been told is that even from the way it's happening now, people that actually are in government schools are getting better places when they go to SHS compared to those in the private sector. Because what I've been told is that the government want to promote their people that came through their system, their education, not their education, but their schools.
Yeah, government schools.
And so they are getting. In the past, we know it's highly competitive. People are buying school.
Can I read something because of what you said?
Saito.
So,
yeah.
majority of private senior high schools have collapsed following free SHS private schools. Akwesi and an executive member of the Ghana Private Senior High School, has revealed that the majority of private schools has closed. He stated on Nyankontong NU Isem on Rainbow Radio that several private SHS have closed since the implementation of the free SHS policy. He lamented that the administrators of private secondary schools made several attempts and engaged the government to consider them in the policy implementation, but their concerns were not addressed. Although he was unable to provide an exact number of schools that have been closed, Akwesi and Dam stated that the vast majority of them are no longer in operation.
And it's actually quite true. But this is even more referring to the SHS. I'm speaking about the JHS students that qualified to go to the SHS. Yeah. So they are the ones that are more being favored in terms of the selection into the SHS. But it's actually quite true that because of free SHS, I mean, there's less in a way. It's not as competitive as it probably will be. The private sector are struggling a bit slightly because most people will get the
want it free rather than.
Well, that's one point. We want it free rather than, and the access to education has in a way increased slightly. So there is that issue that is there. But you see, in the system itself, it's not free of corruption. So, I mean, despite how my understanding of how rigid the system has been now, I'm very confident that there are still loopholes where people still are placed in schools that they're not meant to be in a way. So it depends on how much money you have and who you know. That is still happening.
And see, some Mia and the student who had aggregate 34.
Yeah.
34. It also got cry. Now,
like a basket.
Yes. 34 or see. This school no choosy when you move back. Obinya 39, but the Bakrani are the first choice.
Yeah.
So does that mean the choice of school, no? Because if you choose, you got classes of school. So for instance, if you Obinya, Mevan say aggregate, Mevan say 34. No one could choose a school like Achimota.
Yeah, I get what
you know what? Now so be sunya you 39. Now go to school be cry be anything. It's most likely
the first choice. It's you can argue that point anyway. It's debatable. Said like you bet me against like that is possible. But as you read and then you read it yourself anyway. There's a room for wriggling the whole thing because it says like obviously they leave some of them manually that will whereby I said if I want resource in the bar, I guess they will direct you to go to some places anyway. And therefore, there's always going to be places that you can actually push. I'm sure they will reserve a few spaces for what banner might be big, but I think that I would have probably thought like now the system is much better. So like, the corruption will still be there, but be as high as it used to be.
But I would think it's better than.
So Obia can now go. Obia to Minya school
to
go.
Slightly better than it was. Some years back.
Another article which is quite interesting. SHS placement saga. A Duchum protecting staff who was bribed 7,000. The member of parliament for Ulster South, Dr. Clement Apak, has alleged that the Minister for Education, Dr. Yaose Edichum, is protecting a staff at his ministry who took 7,000 for school placement. According to the MP, a report by the committee set by the Education Minister to investigate the incident showed that someone used the minister's PIN code to allegedly place a student in a grade A senior high school. Dr. Apak, who made these remarks in the NIT FM interview monitored by the Ghana Web, added that the Duchum admitted to sharing his PIN with some of his staff for the placement, but failed to disclose the identity of the person who made the said placement. And this is coming from ministry.
Yeah, but it's not uncommon. I mean, these things, as we said, it happens all the time, you know. And I think you just have to know a bit to know a bit to know a bit, you know. That then they.
But the point they're making is like, so he's saying so it could be so be a or then how come say as the road that you have, you know, why can you compromise yourself to that extent? So your PIN number is shared with members of your staff. So it's allegedly said like you know now press if your staff members in the press. But actually it could be, I mean, yeah, that would be speculative, wouldn't it?
I mean,
It can be anyone.
The suspicion is that you know something about it.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, you know, I don't know who did it, but I'm just saying it can also be him as well. So it can be anyone. I'm just saying it's him, but I'm just saying
everything is possible.
Everything is possible.
I'm just coming from Ghana,
But
I realize everything is possible.
everything is possible.
Yeah,
But
so-
how can, as the road that you hold, how can you compromise yourself to that level? It kind of places.
But
doubt
is it
in
allowed
there.
to share your PIN?
Yeah. What's the point of having a PIN number if you're going to share? If I said Dr. 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 Apa.
Apa is when I'm making the allegation.
What I'm saying is that, like, I'm just trying to put something to think about. So, like, you know, how can you share your PIN number? You know, the whole reason of having a PIN number is it's supposed to be private PIN to yourself, unless you're working on a project that is shared between you two. So this is not a project that you're working with your team. So maybe, you know, doctor, as like I'm thinking, so your PIN is your PIN. You don't share your PIN with anyone else anyway. So I don't know. It just anything's possible. Allegation, yeah. Allegedly. So yeah.
Remember, it's just an allegation. But of course, I mean, he's the education minister. Educhum, you know, perhaps maybe give us something more.
So, Sammy, like you said, you know, and also with our system, you know, even though corruption, bribery, is something that Kufuor's government is fighting very, very hard.
Are they?
Fighting very, very hard for it. But as you know, no, it is hard. How could we tell, especially, and I'm more specific with these SHS placement, say you burden to me because Akwalaya Okase when you're 34, which is a dose. Big grandpa coming with your TV song when you're 34.
But it's 39.
The issue of corruption, for this specific issue that you mentioned about the bribery in the education sector in terms of school placement, it is actually very much, I think it's more systemic than political, you know, because if you come to power, you have good intention of stopping this thing. But there's a tall order of people within that needs to have a mindset change, and they haven't changed at all. And I'm telling you, Ghanaians haven't changed at all. If anything, they're actually worse than where it was before.
I didn't think now because we figure now.
Yes, because we figure out man check more, but there's really the indiscipline, and if you want to talk about Ghana,
I will give you I'll give you 5 minutes to talk about Ghana.
Now, the indiscipline in the system is shocking. It's just so shocking. There was 4 attempts, you know, for people to ask me money when I haven't even landed on the getting out of the airport. 4 these are the 4 attempts. I was 2 in, 2 out. 4 attempts to solicit money from me. Before I 2 before I enter, and 2
you enter the country.
Before I enter the country, and 2 was, and now I say 2. Nunina is in the airport, you know, and I thought, these things is something that
Was
perhaps
crushed, wasn't it?
they've
moved
made a lot
on.
of changes to the terminal trade, but it's the human element of the problem that we have. The system will allow you to run smoothly, but the person in the process of doing
Probably we don't need
um,
we don't need people in there anymore. We need
well,
technologies.
I think that would be the best thing, because if for example, when you go in, they'll ask you your COVID certificate and your health declaration form, and your health the procedure or the requirements. You would know this in way before you go. So whilst you are in the flight, they give you the card for you to fill for.
So they're still doing COVID thing, and you still have to pay
You
for
don't
it.
need
So
to do test.
you have to show that you are vaccinated. If you are
Or the
vaccinated,
3 or
whether,
whatever,
you are,
okay.
then of course they
But you don't have to go and do it
But
before
if
you
you-
go.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I didn't take interest much in. But the assumption I'm gathering from this is that since they still require me to show my certification for COVID, it obviously means that they are still thinking, so, unvaccinated, yeah, you probably have to prove. I don't know that. I didn't go to the extent of checking that, but that is my own interpretation of that. But the point is that there's you first meet the health administrator, I'll call it, that will check your health declaration and everything. Then that moves you on to the immigration, then moves on to your baggage. The baggage too for the baggage checks. And the person that sits the health declaration in that specific moment want to extort money from you. Mainly because obviously Moshe had the declaration form now, yellow fever way.
Yellow fever is.
I mean, it is very ridiculous. I'm telling you.
But it's unfortunate because it was getting better. I'm sure now you've been together when the whole thing, because you haven't been to Ghana probably for a while now anyway. But when the whole airport changed and initially it was
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, sir. It is
It's
a human
unfortunate,
problem
yeah.
that we have, because the system that has changed. The expectation is that people will change with the
Yeah, their
system,
mindset.
but they sit there and they speak in an undertone. So even the supervisor that is around doesn't hear what they say, and they speak.
Also, mommy be
You get, and you make as if they're not asking you, but they're asking you, putting pressure on you. You know that I have whole lots of allegations that I'm
no.
make, and it's just ridiculous. It did actually happen in that way. It was just unfortunate I didn't have a recorder, because I would have actually, I'm telling you, I was so furious to the point that
you'll be.
because every single person you speak to, there's an undertone of trying to extort something.
And I like the
Do you know?
They don't make it to look as if they're asking you, but they're telling you that I want money from you, and it is yes.
Did you know? So like, I don't know if I told you when there was this incident whereby I got there and they asked me a question at the airport. Say, maybe then I show bag him. Now I see you. Then I show bag him. Now I say, "Me your man car parts bill anyway." Also, you're not supposed to bring car parts to Ghana. It's also my or try to deal with it away from the boss. And be a bit cheaper. Now I say, "Papa, say mini bits. Can mini bit?" Until the minimum job is say because and you might be saying so Jimmy to the point say like Africa part to me back to the part I'm in the room and I said be a small but Jimmy home I mean that even makes sense.
But that's the thing, they play on your vulnerability.
Yeah.
They try to pick something to make you feel very vulnerable about the situation. And therefore the chances of you not relinquishing whatever it is that you have. And thank God I didn't have anything.
Thank God I didn't have anything.
I told the problem, I mean it's gonna be new. And then you go to the baggage. The person in the baggage handler checking to see you're picking the right bag.
Then it's
coming
getting
out,
bad.
checking.
Yes. Just that you pick the right one.
Yes, correct. Because
they do that on that.
Then when you need to come out from some human barrier sort of thing, and then they check your
passport against the number
to make sure that is the right.
Do you find there's too many people?
Which is great. It's possible to have lost their badge, on that. But the point I'm making is that even at that point, the person sees my passport. They say, "Oh, I mean, obviously, we collected a gun, then started speaking Ghana. Again, extortion. You know that, and they were so uncalled for, so unnecessary. You know, but it's so many stories in that, and this is just the airport one. If we come out
Get
from
to
the
the
airport,
country.
It's another one.
the country,
But did you
in fact, when I was
many?
checking out, when I was coming out, then this is even one of the weirdest ones. So my bag, I was using, obviously I brought a lot of stuff from Ghana, the local stuff, the food items. It was in this Ghana must go bag, and then I was walking, obviously.
As you're going or coming
As I'm
back.
coming back to the UK,
Nice.
it was in this Ghana must go back, and one of the guys attendants called
You're
me
not
and
supposed
said,
to. Yeah.
"What is in there?" And I said, "Oh, it's the Ghana goods and stuff." And I said, "Oh, you need to declare that." And okay, so I went there. I don't even know who is accounting for that declaration that I did.
The things I never
Yeah.
watch and I get is and times when you consider
The 50
it.
Ghana is a lot of
And that's
money.
gone up. It used to be
to-
yeah.
to declaration. Me a declaration, if you know 50 Ghana, I paid the 50 Ghana. He gave me some receipts. As well as a genuine
Yeah, I know.
And I'll place you
Yeah,
receipts.
yeah. They do the
But
same.
the point I'm making is that so that money, who is
Taking the money.
taking, where is
Yeah,
that,
I've
who,
thought
where is
about
that
that.
money going to? Where is
Yeah.
the accountability?
That's the
going
PIN
to?
number we are talking about.
Where is that accountability? You know,
That is
there-
the PIN number
there are
we are
people-
talking about here.
there are people there that are taking advantage, and I haven't finished taking advantage of people's vulnerability, because that's how I see it. When you are at the airport, whether in or out,
You are
you
stressed.
feel
so
very,
you're
very stressed, very vulnerable, because
Yeah.
you actually want to go.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want is Obi will put a strain on you. So you end up very quickly having to relinquish whatever it is that you have, because you just want to go. And that is how they're actually making a lot of money at the airport. And then I finished the health declaration.
Have you heard of this story?
This is a show. We understand.
Obi kotua sika ona ofo say yebunu. Obi no si sika na oje ma bodua guzu. Say nya kwan paso a. Obi sika no obi antu ne nje.
Bekaba could be me time as an almost airport no more ye ho yi. See, me could do airport, I guess so straight. Almost me be myoma, right? See, ya boy, no, see, you man don't know so boy. No more you might be another baby who had. Or Saka says, say, because I say, okay, it's my boy with another.
My member, and that's exactly the same thing. After health declaration, Mekona, the one lady, also another attendant, he said, Ubagi, the young woman from fruit plane. I was like, oh, when did they start not allowing? When they start not allowing Ghana must go back?
Ghana must go
back. She made me really scared that because I don't want to.
If it's not the Louis Vuitton one, now it's fine. The other Ghana must go. Yes.
Oh,
Louis Vuitton one.
Which one is Louis Vuitton?
The red and black
striped one. Strokes.
So that's the Louis Vuitton one.
Yeah.
So if it's not that, but in Ghana, they are all Ghana must go.
Yeah. The Louis Vuitton design.
I know.
That's the only one.
And then
Louis
Vuitton. Burberry.
Yeah. But the point is, so she said, look, back in the home, I'm vulnerable because that could be the woman. I want you to so now when the lady said that, I said, no, okay. So I'm going to so she took me to this.
Or at least the person take money from me.
The girl took money from me.
Okay.
That one I actually gave it because I
told you.
Yeah, she just.
They would have told you at the.
But I don't think they would have stopped me from using that.
No, you are not supposed to go with that. They say that they've stopped the Burberry design or Burberry has obviously seen it now.
And there's this corner that these people have put the
yeah. So you go there and
you go and they put it in the box and they put the wrapper on it.
Yeah. So
and the serious man, and I'm telling you, the money that they are making.
Yeah.
So how much did you pay for that?
I paid
50
and guess I paid, I think it's 75 Ghana or something like that. Is it for both buses or is it for one? I can't remember. I think for one.
The clean film.
The clean film. And unfortunate for me, I didn't even really feel me but a box. So I finished it. went to weigh my box. The box is overweight.
Oh,
Overweight. Number is underweight. So obviously, we have to now
undo them again.
Undo everything, remove it, and then.
That's the stress that I talk about. Though you get so stressed in the airport.
Exactly the point I'm making. Then and then put it back again. Make up as a move a rapper because boss we need to be. Oh, I was out to 50. And I have to pay another 50 Ghana. I'm not joking.
No, that's
especially I have to pay another 50 Ghana to base. But I mean, I don't blame because it's hard to it, so I have to pay. Then I look at the girl, you know, how she would be standing there. She knew I was going to give her money.
Yeah, so okay.
Standing there.
I saw that don't buy it.
And I'm sure 5 Ghana be the one for them to say, that's it for telling me this, you know.
It's
but that
sad.
one, she's not asking. I basically.
But it's something that she was waiting.
It's a psychological asking. That is a one call. This is just the airport.
Let's do a show based on Sammy's experience in Ghana. I think we can actually. I think we all have our experiences in the airport in Ghana in general. That is a show on its own, isn't it?
And you come to Heathrow, smooth sailing.
I tell you, any person knows the machines work. You know, you come out and I power you. What is your machine man will pay?
And therefore, Sammy Ghana no, can't say on top.
Ghana must go.
The Ghana must go. I would like to know also experience. Obaya say airport experience. Also experience my mental wonka. Number near auto 814487773. Moving on to the next story, so the Minister of Finance, Christan Atsu, has stated that the government will not punish any bondholder who decide not to participate in the domestic debt exchange program, DDEP. He reiterated that the government would honor its obligation to them according to the terms of long-term government paper. Mr. Oforiatta gave the assurance at a joint press briefing with pensioners, bondholders forum in Accra yesterday. The meeting, which lasted for a few minutes, was to afford the government and the pensioners bondholders a common platform to seal their discussion on the debt swap program. The finance minister noted that the DDEP was voluntary for people who wanted to participate and would not be used against those who stayed away. Nobody will be punished. All coupons will be honored in the same way the contract was signed, he said. Mr. Oforiatta called on citizens to remain resolute as the economy faces difficulties in the hope that all the issues will be resolved soon. I also want to use this opportunity to acknowledge the challenges that we are currently facing as a nation and assured you that my team and I are working tirelessly to ensure we can restore our economy fortune within the shortest possible time so that you are at least guaranteed a comfortable and secure retirement, he said. Touching on the concerns of pensioners and bondholders, the minister said it was imperative to recognize the senior citizens were an integral part of the community and ensure that they were not punished into unnecessary hardship in their future. And the story goes on and on. Yain say Chabia, Asema Isiwo, Ghana Commercial Bank, and Penifobia, Sebi, Omodio Musica, Omo pensions, Kenya, any savings in Yana Kotoho, Na James and Kadachi, you know, and who is the Hono, not just Omodia to talk, you know, Kakrano, not Sebi, and even Grandpa. Maybe our platform is a few weeks back, was a month or whatever back, and will be edited towards the end. So, Sika Ghana Commercial Bank, but what Diana said, we're bank, no, because there's something going on. But because I don't have money with them, I just ignored it. And Chabia and I send me about so. Now, what was very interesting, I think a couple of probably last week and a bit. Now, me who pensioners association on with a placard, a bit more to wheelchair, guitar placards, events, frustration out purely for the fact that papa bi ɔsɛ wayɛ adwuma ɔkata na abotire ayɛ adwuma bebree asave the savings a ɔde kɔ pension wɔ abotire no na ɔtameɛ na ɔde bɛto hɔ with the intention sɛ he's got a long lifelong health condition na ɔsɛ every month biara na sɛ periodical biara ɔsɛ onye aduro ti sika no na yɛ sɛ ɔde totɔ na edu kakra as of the time ɔmo yɛ wɛni ne sika nyinaa kɔlɔɔke. And they catch us say, "Sika say, I will have 5% to the thing." This year, I kind of want to change. We are no and samba. I now me foreign bishop. We bisa papa we bisa say papa no free Ghana and na kasa. We bisa say Ghana to say. Asa ma papa ne kan say oh Ghana dey eat and for yata everywhere Ghana very okay. That is an individual. How can I say? And che we are na MPP for. Ankasa eba a gomo MPs ni bi e ka say priorita emfa na ne books ento ho no ma anya omo beyi omo ho as on very relinquish omo role ye hu de gosi ye because papa no still a oda so eti na ebia so o ye omo so that means asem na omo kan no na omo kan ye kind of just kasa keke because action bia antiki because musi me ba no one resign ya mo be kwa and the panel resign and that's still a more that means a total waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
And some baby also. Sammy and I'll buy I don't know which one of you would like to take the stories with these pensioners. Sasemi ya koso e wakana. Or say, Papa ne say at the moment we are in a difficult time. Now or the year compare last few weeks back before it take a break, you know. Or say maybe to say a COVID-19 or blaming COVID-19 economic hardship and is a lockdown maybe you can't or blaming in a kahuna and Ghana a honchre and some more kind of pensioners. Do you think that there is hope Ghana?
Thank you, Nana.
In terms of savings,
yeah. Nana, so be something I'm telling said, do I mean, ask me that question, said, do I want to put my money in Ghana in any form of investment? And I will categorically kind of say to you, say, no, I don't. And my reason for that is, who so many collapses or so many collapses of banks, and you know, we've heard in last year and some years gone, and probably a year or two, so Ghana was doing so well. We were booming, like, you know, business was booming, like investment was like things were moving fast. Ghana was doing so well, but yet if it's the incompetence of some people, and I say, you know, the economy was moving, growing too fast, and that's whatever, but it wasn't regulated properly. I don't know which one it was. So at the moment, we've seen, if say BIA is linked to that one, we heard, I think last year, and getting to the end of last year, so like people that have bought bonds in Nasafono, they were losing because you seek every banker. You know, people were not able to take their money out because obviously with the bond that you are hoping that it will grow. You know what I mean? Maybe Tikroma said, for example, say my cotton bond or something now I promise of 25%, you know, you have to fulfill it. Won't you mean fulfill it? Then you have to be a good reason why you come, because I put my money there for a reason, what you said. But yet we have come across, in addition to this, we've come across recently whereby people have been promised something and then it hasn't been delivered. Banks have promised things anyway, they've not delivered. As you said, pension, you know, bond or whatever it is, also people, it has not been delivered. And it kind of makes you start to think, say, like, what is growing actually? Because Ghana is growing, one of the fastest, what is actually growing? Is it a small percentage of small people know more or more kind of, you know, succeeded in the economy and the rest are not? And then those people that this affects, so it's the poor people who also try to do something with their lives. What there's one who on the bank was say, me bomb I say be in a year or two, no big grown up to be a school fees and the business. Because most Ghanaians really are into businesses of their own anyway. So says kind of saving, it's supposed to do something. That money is gone. People have invested most of their money, and we haven't seen anyone come to being gone through any scrutiny on like being punished for it. And I say anything come out from it, because when we took for that gold, what was that one called again? Men's gold. Anyway, you were hoping we heard from the beginning there should have been an end of it, how it was resolved. Nothing got said at the end, and people push and push and push. Nothing happened at the end. We've seen other banks, like investment banks that have collapsed, and up to now, no, so 2-3 years now, we don't know why, there's no answer why it did collapse and what was done and how we going to we're going to even stop in the future. We've not, what I mean, that's my concern. We talk about these things anyway, but I think we don't get the resolution, we don't get the end result. Say I deal resolve it like happy and I say, the people that live in Ghana not sort of like put people to bring people to justice for what they've done. People will talk about all this stuff. You're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But at the end, we don't get the answer that we need to prevent it from happening in the future. And really, say Ghana is going to grow. I think you and I have to feel comfortable. If we are going to go back home and do something good in Ghana, then you and I have to feel comfortable to be able to go there and put me 20 cities in the bank. Hope say in 10 years I'm not 20 cities, and the mama to me grow another 5 cities. Say, won't you mean that now? Then I don't see how I don't see how the economy can grow. I'm not saying maybe first one on the baby, but I'm thinking it's part of us all going back home and doing something in Ghana, and I don't see any good thing coming out from what's happened with the pension and all the bonds and everything that's going on in recently.
So my member pensioners, yes, and even if you don't want to be part of it, it's not by force. It's a coupon to be issue. I will be a senior or permanent. Yeah, in Ghana economy, how it has been for some time now. You are your finance minister. You didn't see tables where to turn on. But clearly, out, you could tell that. He was quite confident. We were all suspecting both at some points and another because you say, but and to me, I'm MP before again, Misa can be MP for by Uncle Siaga or see Ukraine one what at home. COVID at home. And because of that, try and on my figures be said Ghana, dear. This year I'm penning for Modium music or to a usual. As music and crammed so no. One more music and why answer. Where are we as a country?
The whole debt exchange program now, because I know, it's sad. The whole thing was mismanaged because now that they try to exempt the pensioners and based on the pressure that they have, and I mean, I was just thinking about the whole thing and say, it doesn't make sense to me why, I mean, the IMF must have been insistent and said, it has to be, in general, and it covers everything. The pension fund is always one of those areas that there's a lot of vulnerability around, with pension funds, because kind of even age man and woman is kind. So you always keep an eye on that and see how much can I save, by making up changes. Say, I remember some time back that I think during the camera by only Jojo's book, they tried to make some changes. They actually did in terms of the retirement age,
there's no retirement age anyway, so you can actually
try to make some changes to that. And I remember there was a whole demonstration. Not right, but there was a lot that went into. People were not happy at all. So that area is very delicate area because the and the reason why we all work hard is to ensure you secure some. To be quite honest with you, the pension, if someone buys a bond, they use it's not a lot of money. So for you to even target that and want to use that as part of the means that you want to save, I find it quite worrying. I'm confident. It is not an issue. kind of react so we now so touching that.
Mhm.
It must be part of the conditionality.
From
The
IMF.
IMF no more will say, okay, we should yeah, man, it's the most sort out. I'm very confident.
Something has gone down in the
Yes,
background.
I'm very confident this is all part of it. But of course, I mean, it's all part of the negotiation. You could just go, say, you have to think about it and say, okay, the money I'm taking is from my mom. So if you say, and then it's kind of, and can I common them in that sort of thing, analogy that I'm trying to use. So it's quite worrying and quite strange. We got to the point that where old men, women, our fathers have to go and picket around the finance ministry to beg the coupon where mature for coupon mommy see mommy. That is when this could be So it is quite worrying. But now we are in dire straits. The country. Yeah.
You should go more often.
It's a wake up for me. I mean, you could see real hunger in people's faces.
But has it not been? Don't you think that because you've been out and the environment
But I have to use that to measure.
Yeah.
But when you were there, and I don't think it was.
That's
exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is 20 years down the line,
it hasn't changed.
It shouldn't be that bad. It should get a bit easier.
Yes, people should not still go hungry.
Do you think that people will kill more people now for money than before?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because people are
genuinely hungry. People are genuinely hungry. Me they began explaining to me to the economics. Within that short period of time, every single person that I meet will ask you for money. And genuinely, they actually do not have it. And that's why they ask.
They live higher. They live higher than their means. Is that right? To be 100,000, but living a life of 2,000.
But anyway, that they live above their means. But there are people that they don't even have.
Yet I won't say that. And sometimes I say this thing at times on the program. Sometimes opie fini dan no no bit le prochi na obege na we sika na ubepie na ubepie month no bit o dan echi na obege. It's like you don't feel like what you're doing to others. It's just Ghana, you have to go a lot of times to get over it because
maybe
you will get used to it if you carry on. But not get
because the whole thing is so frustrating. The whole thing is very, very frustrating. The economy is it's a situation where it's actually on its knees and begging.
Doggy dog,
If not on the knees, maybe sleeping and begging at the same time. That is how bad things are. I went to meet this friend. It was a trigger, and he is someone who is basically well-to-do. And he was telling me stories about, and he pointed, and then on from a Gatti that on park you no matter Uber. Uber. And they go because me I've seen them parking their car and waiting for boats and Yango. Now when they cockroach.
Because you can't afford it.
This is what Anita is saying. They're living about their means.
Exactly. Then it's not reality.
They raise themselves to a certain
Exactly.
You have to maintain
exactly. That's the reality. But that's what it makes it very dangerous anyway, because it's like what is being portrayed. Because they talk about it, like even in this country, what the stars, some people portray on the social media, and then you would take people have children, for example, and then they celebrities, within 2 days, a week or 2 weeks, they come back to the size, wherever it is. But God knows what they do in the bag. There's injections, and you maybe use it. You put pressure on yourself to be just like that person. And I'm just using that as an example because you're showing all this like.
Perhaps we too don't help it. You go down. They ask you for the money you give, so the assumption is that there's money. You have the money, in his grasp. But you can't help it and to feel sorry when you see the situation that people are. I went to Alajo and I couldn't recognize
my
place.
That's changed, isn't it? It's changed.
Changes and a statement.
That's how it's like. It will be a war zone.
It's so devastating. the building, the places that I know, we have open places.
Yeah, it's going
and
west.
It's west. When you see the wrong west, and
What's the west
you know,
and west?
looking for something
The
which is west
mistakes,
and west.
yeah.
You know, it is devastating.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that the way people are living, maybe I am saying that maybe they are comfortable with the way they are living, but the way people are living, if this continues like that for another couple of years, I can't see any other thing than people actually going to take arms and, you know, they might have to, you know.
I've said this so many times. I know I've felt.
It is
Yeah.
seriously that bad.
Yeah.
You know, it is seriously that bad. The poverty level in Accra, you know,
And that's the capital
I'm
city.
telling you, the poverty
People are
level in
struggling.
Accra is extraordinary. It is extraordinary. You see,
You see, first time out. But you see,
We remember when we talking about this story, talking about regulations of buildings and this animal. This other story about see the FDA destroys more than 120,000 worth of seizure products in the Western North. The Western North Region Office of the Food and Drugs Board has destroyed dozens of expired, unregistered products worth 124,271 as Sefirioso. And look at the first thing on the item. The item included soft and energy drink, a variety of aphrodisiac, unregistered herbal products.
I'm interested in aphrodisiac.
I know you like that one. Cereal, milk, noodles, and fake schnapps. I'm speaking to the Ghana News Agency after the exercise. Mr. Albert Ankama, Western North Regional Director of the FDA, said items were seized by authority during their routine market surveillance in the shop in the past 3 months. He said the seized items were mainly from Bibiani Ashawasu, Bekwai, Yaoso municipalities. And this, the person made it story because we talked about regulation of building, building, no, Ghana, and I say even a place like Turkey, Syria, or man regulating on building Ghana, Obaya, you brought it up, say a dire is, who is regulating it? Wow, we see why they now. With terms and then even though definitely there is a guidelines, but do we follow that? Then we go to our food. Say schnapps, aphrodisiac, energy drinks. It's the boys, beer, simdenti, beer, alcohol, and it's milk. Milk. Ghana say milk here, dear. A lot of yedema and corrupt baby and fake schnapps, unregistered herbal products, cereal, and these are everyday ijane. It's not ijane. I'm a say regular. So that should tell you say ya really son your man Ghana. These are some of the things, and it boils down to back to what we are talking about. Say ejuma so people are sleeping rough and obviously
also as well.
And porno is leading to in a kind of in a very nice way because nipa non regulating no akofa bibi no dey because of episode didi na or decide we ton yare the amagana. And when you hear some of these things now, it's kind of maybe I will to me fast we and omoje ya no then now the FDA for ya ni handing for ne ma aposifo ana and so omo sizi ne ma ne keke. And almost easy keka, it's just a matter of almost. And so the question I ask myself is after seizing those products, what did they do to Gofona? Na ekito so more so could you store more? So just go run upon the air. Or see a channel no so funny back crowd but the man but what did they do about it?
FDA for close such a but you can be a woman. I've never eaten in restaurant. I said to myself, I want to experience what I used to experience when I was growing up. And your family, so I was open local now before. And they made me free the foreign. The moment me local, and they took me for some joints.
Was that flies?
No, let me tell
Flies.
I'll give you the NBA story now. Because me, I won't call Ghana into me.
Oh, no, I'm not for this. I'm going to say, I'm going. I was saying,
Let me see, people pull up on Chicago. And they say, okay, we know some joint will take you. And I'm telling you, Nana, if the FDA come to that, they'll close it. When I saw it, I was excited because I haven't, experienced it for a very, very long time. At the moment I entered, I could smell what I wanted to smell. It's just fantastic. And I went in there and I just almost service.
I can smell it, right?
It was fantastic. And I'm telling you, if the FDA comes to that place, they'll definitely go to close it. And there are a lot of these things
everywhere.
So the thing that you mentioned about FDA, whether they do this thing, and you have to go to Ghana and just start walking into the real place.
Is it about that just for 4 days? I don't go more than you do. And you're telling her what to do.
Because maybe I made it an effort.
And if you went to the ghettos and just
me and Obaya usually when we go for that.
I don't go to the ghettos.
Oh,
that's why the whole be at on the Gata don't be at on the
I'm not talking about that Gata.
Exactly. You're talking about
smell.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Because watching you got
it was nice.
It was the best watch I've ever had. I'm telling you. Not to talk about our videos, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Why Gata all the time?
Because I wanted to experience
the Gata experience. The Gata experience. But I think that you're in your motor most of the time. You're in your motor by Gata, isn't it?
So it's the main road. They come to the main road.
But you see, that on a serious note, there are a lot of things that you need regulation around it, and I can tell you that it cannot go all the way because the whole there's the economy and there's the economy. So there's the proper economy and there's underground economy. And those underground economy, you could see it spread around, and that is their source of income. Most of them,
it's booming to some extent.
It's so difficult. I can see clearly. And that is why they're struggling to come and close down some of these things, because it's many being when you have said 500 Ghana be able to make new shops this year, and then start selling.
But I mean, what you could do and say like, yes, you can close it, but you have to have measures whereby they have to keep the environment clean. So that my banner said, so you must say, and also to me, just like also if you Ghana, if you be also proper every day to make sure so gata I you clean it up all the time. That would be. Let me
call my Abubuya for the Befa Bola news. Why I said, Bola is so try Abubuya for those that carry this thing. And then the guy came to the house and then he said, then they look at the bin, then they will look at the size of the bin and the content of the bin and they start charging. I mean, it's fascinating. I was looking at all of that. I was sitting there enjoying the
you need to go more often.
I am not going to go again because I'm answer. But
I do find
so what happened? I'm interested.
Are you interested in that? Yeah, you have to do more show on this.
Honestly, you probably should do those show. What's the name? The one that they do every day. Start with P. I can't remember. You have anyway. I can't remember the name of it, but my catch it's just a show. Just show like just relax, sitting in your bed and just have it with somebody that you have every day. Anyway, those conversations will be interesting to have to be had anyway. But I do find that when you go for the first time, if you haven't been for a long time, you go for the first and second time. Which more because who be now around. But music music I feel baby I go see.
You see, most of the guys that I actually met, they are people that we all grew up.
Yeah.
So it is difficult.
And who am I there looks so bad. You say you have to give.
I mean, you people that have been used for like 10 years, and you look at the age gap, now, and they look older than the way I look, you know, and it's clear. You know,
the system.
It is,
You go 2-3 more anyway. You get used to it.
It's really my last word. Me won't say ne show no more. They are call another level. So me Ghana will come by no, they are call another level.
I think my last words be about the sad news that we've had this week with Christian passing, and just not just Christian, plus him, plus about another 41,000 on top of that have passed, and there's more coming, and it's sad, and obviously there's a lot that needs to be to happen. The government have to answer so many questions. There's so many things that obviously in the news, and as some sort of there was this bit that we talked about in the news whereby there was a building, engineering and architect building in the midst of the whole thing, which survived. Nothing happened to it yet. It crumbled. So it tells you, it's about the architects and how the government has. So this is a subject that is really, the government have really going to probably lose a lot through this, but then they need to now regulate the system, like the country or the buildings very, very well. And that speaks for any other country that, because it can happen in Ghana, it can happen anywhere and stuff like that. We need to do more, because the result of not doing the right is devastating. Like the impact of this, we don't want anyone to go through that impact again, because people have died. 41, can you count? And people would walk back 41,000. Can you imagine? 1,000 cries hard enough. 41,000. So that I hope that somebody out there is listening to this in Ghana and around the world anyway, and this regulation will be picked up correctly. And I'm hoping we have to be hopeful. What can you do? You can't do anything but be hopeful that somebody will make some changes somewhere that will actually avoid something like this in the future.
Sorry, your last.
Yeah, some American is Ghana, but what you are not going to get to know. Got a movie in the end.
What did I read about? But apart from that,
it's here for senior Diako Soyani Pichi. I am a teacher median na ABC, as you know, no, and we have been no, I get big. Yesterday program, no, looking at the earthquake, AC Syria and Turkey. And remembered our brother Christan Atsu Nyasabre Onka Atiasifo Hubium. Then we move on Anya Bismarck at the reports a brain for you what is happening in Ghana, a year Ghana for you now at the Omenia Bre Omedico Giant Abomutsi and na esu omode ya wa esi omuti so a te se esu ni adwajo and na ekoso wo my Ghana on fe or UST a level 200 abrantie bi a Valentine Day twemu ya ye nim de kosi ye abrantie atso ne ho abeto from the 4th floor ye nim tenelai momobio anase na kanchi bi na ayo ye nim de koso ehwemu no ye de ehu nsem nyina ebebro de ba branti eti mu a ema no eje ono ankasa teki ne nkwa short eno de ye nim ono kwa ne nim odru ho no ma nyame bebisa no na se bi ocho bibi to ho so a echire ehwe ne nnuama mu a ebia na bibi apa ne de tu inchemafo ne kwakra no ye koso ekọ eye eti what saga security men na almost so Nipa 13, almost national security. Omukwa mines for ina kokoji musika. Almost walk the better more than they can stew. This year no nsem enya sem bitoa. And they call back to SHS saga. Yes, this year replacement. Esunya gate 40 korampa. When you did go to me in your school. It doesn't matter. You I get everyone say 30 is when you're school, when you're 50, now you see the right schools and the right connection go to me your school. Name mono a trainer and education minister no or by the minister now in charge of posting is a kind of way to can be and for movie because system no be a banner say mom said baby na say we are the back canon here posty or punchy computer na near PB amount. As so that is true. Say rhetoric questions one of when you can where yeah no do things that is Bible week or so and answer them. If you and then we came to the economy of Ghana, Siciano, as engineers no musica kakrana kano. you're not entitled. You don't have to necessarily go into this bonding. Almost soon abre. But you see, every little helps in the CCR. Ken waba out Eddie say me about na same so free Ghana buy or the Ghana nonsense be very Eddie abre. Enti da sen na want me kebiwa media ene na na henwa momo money tie amejimo so yado nyam da sen ne ebesen hye bi samu wo inye sabochi me ma make sure say ewia na bo no don't think say ewia na bo kata ho ye wo Ghana so ahwe ho ye pa because from an na ewia na bo no anu edin nyame ede ye nkwa kyei akwasi ada ebesen hye ewo heya bi ti want me can be bye bye.